So if you guys have followed this channel for any length of time, you know that every video I've basically posted has taken place in a completely different location. And some videos just don't really work well that way, especially with ones that I really want to do in the future. So today we're going to be taking this room and turning it into a YouTube studio. So it's probably not going to be something that happens immediately. In fact, we're probably not even going to finish it today. We're just starting out. We got a lot of cleanup to do here in this huge mess. Yeah. So this is what we have to work with. We got insulation on the floor. Most of that is fallen out from the ceiling. We're just gonna have to staple that all back up. I don't know if I'll have to replace that sheet there or not. I might be able to just stuff it all back in. I don't know. There is a gnarly, ugly dust layering on the floor. That is very gross. That is some good New Mexico dust right there. These windows are pretty gross. Got some cleaning to do on those. We got a nice little wasp nest right here in the corner that is hopefully abandoned. So my priority today is just getting the insulation stapled back into the walls, as well as getting the floor cleaned up. Nobody's been up here in like 5 years, so there's just like a huge thick layer of New Mexico dust. It's pretty gross. So I had to enlist a little help in getting the insulation back up into the ceiling. I had my dad come out help with that. It was pretty hard for one person to do. That paper tears very easily. So one person would hold it, the other staples, and with the two of us, we knocked it out in like 2 minutes. So with the insulation completed there, next up on the to-do list is getting the floor taken care of. Well, we're not doing the whole flooring at the moment. We'll be doing that later on in this build. We're gonna be just cleaning up all the dirt and the tools and everything that's just sitting here doing nothing other than choking up my lungs. So everything's looking really good right now. We got the room cleared out. What I want to do now is I want to take a belt sander to the floor and kind of just make all the planks nice and even so we can get a nice level surface going, and that'll allow me to put in some flooring. Well, that made a huge mess of everything. So there's sawdust covering everything right now, but the floor is for the most part level, and probably more likely than not I can work with it, which means we're all good there. So that means we can move on to the next phase, but there's so much dust in here, I probably shouldn't be breathing it in, so probably a good time to call it a break and pick this up tomorrow. Right now we're in the process of plastering. I've never done this process before, but it's kind of a good learning experience, I guess. Because of that, I went ahead and started on the walls that aren't going to be on camera, so I could just do a little practice run there. And it's coming along pretty nicely. I did a little bit last week and let it dry over the weekend, and for the most part I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So now I just need to do the rest of the room and all the corners. I have not tackled those yet. That is a little intimidating, but we'll see if we can get it done. So we got the plastering done. This is the first time I've ever done any of that, so I don't think my work is that great, but it'll do for our purposes in building the studio. We got the plastering done, we got a layer of primer on, and we are ready to start painting. Now this room is actually really small. It's an 8x8 room. So to create separation between me and the background when the studio is finished, I decided to go with a matte black for the walls. and we'll be using a off-white color for the trim and the ceiling. And although you guys won't be seeing that white color at all probably in future videos, it will kind of stylize the room a little bit, I suppose. I think having a black background is actually a really good way of creating separation without depth between me and the background, as long as I'm not wearing a black shirt. So we're gonna go ahead and see how that works. So with the painting completed, we're now moving on to the floor. Now the flooring is just 2x4 decking and is pretty uneven, so to even it out we went ahead and laid down a 1/4 inch plywood, and it's actually looking really good. We have a pretty level surface, and from there we're just going to be laying down this vinyl planking. Alright, this is the floor. Looks really good. I'm really surprised with how well it came out. This room is coming together really nicely. So the floor is finished. We also went ahead and finished off the electrical. We got the light switches in, the outlets along the walls, and we went ahead and added this nice little industrial light to the ceiling. And I'm really pleased with how well this is coming out. So we're going to be holding off on doing the trim and the baseboard of this room because really I just want to get this up and running as a studio as fast as I can, and those things can kind of wait. So next thing we're going to be doing is furnishing a workbench. This old workbench belonged to my dad. It's over 30 years old, which still makes it older than me. It's a solid maple bench, and the years of wear and tear definitely show. The first thing I needed to do was fill in all the drilled holes with wood filler. I found a maple color which seemed brighter than the bench due to the dirt and grime. But I let that dry for a few days and then sanded down the surface of the bench, and I have to say it came out pretty good. Alright, so this is the desk that we're going to be using in the workshop. Now we just have to get it into the workshop, and we're doing that with a tractor. So with a little bit of effort, we lifted up the workbench. And I know what you're thinking right now. That workbench is freaking huge, and that room is super tiny. And you know what? You're not wrong. With the workbench successfully moved into the studio, I decided that I wanted to stain the bench. I decided on a dark cherry color. Never having stained wood before, I was a little uncertain as to how the bench would come out, but I have to say I was pretty happy with the results. And with a final touch, I topped it off with a coat of polyurethane clear gloss coat. This has been a pretty incredible journey of building this studio on my own. It's pretty satisfying to have made something my own like this, and I'm really excited. We're basically done. The workbench has been stained, and I put a coat of polyurethane gloss on it as well, and it looks really good. We got all our studio equipment in today, so I'm really excited to get things up and running. The only other thing I didn't get was the sound treatment for the room. That's coming in, I think, later this week, but right now I'm just kind of excited to get everything set up, so let's go see what the room looks like now. Alright, so this is going to be the studio. So there's a little bit of work we have to do. It's a little echoey in here. We're going to get some sound treatment going. And I don't have it with me today, but I have basically all the other pieces of equipment that we're going to use. So at the moment I have the door propped open here, and everything is just naturally lit. So this is going to be our main key light. This is the Amaran P60X. I'm going to have it set next to the camera somewhere off over here, and we'll just play around with what the best settings will be. Additionally, I'm probably gonna have to get some window curtains now that I think about it, just so I can have a little more controlled lighting. Ooh, there we go. Alright, so this is going to be our main key light that will just sit somewhere off over here probably. Now, lighting on its own is probably going to be pretty harsh, so this kit also comes with a diffuser, and we'll see how well this behaves. And if it doesn't, I may have to fashion something a little bit bigger on my own, but I think this is going to do the trick. Alright, there you go. This should look nice. Let's plug it in and see what it looks like. Alright, so main key light's plugged in, door is shut, and I have to say it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I may play with the settings a little bit later and see if I can't fine-tune things, but I'm really liking the results so far. So, next piece of equipment is audio. Now, there's only so much I can do at the moment. There's a Rode Video Micro on this EOS R6, and that is basically my go-to microphone for pretty much everything that has happened on this channel up until this point. But I want to do something a little more professional here in the studio, so I have over here this little Audio Technica shotgun mic that I really like. It's what I used to do on my voiceovers, and every time I pull it out, everyone always compliments my audio and how well it sounds. So I figured I might try and get a little more use out of this and make that my main studio microphone. The issue with doing that though is that it is a 48 volt phantom power microphone, and to get that to the camera I basically have to have a preamp that supports that. So I went ahead and bought an audio interface that'll work both with my MacBook that I use for video editing and as well as something that can work with the camera. So with that, I went ahead and bought the Motu M2. Don't know anything about this. Audio is just kind of a foreign thing to me still at this point. I'm far more familiar with camera settings, color grading, but my rudimentary research and Google Foo led me to this product, so we're gonna see how well it sounds for us. So let's see if I can't get it roughly set up here and plugged in and see how that differs from this Rode Video Micro that you are listening to right now. Alright, so I have the Motu M2 hooked up, and it is powering this phantom microphone here, and that is what you're listening to now. And I have no idea how it sounds, but hopefully when I bring it into the editor, it'll sound really, really good. Probably a really good echo in here still, maybe more so from the Rode Video Micro, or not, I don't know. But we'll get some sound treatment in here next and see how it sounds. This is what it sounds like without any sound treatment at all in this room. I went ahead and got a ton of these little squares here. So we're gonna be putting them all over the walls of the room, and we're gonna see what it sounds like. But consider this a little test audio of what it sounds like before they're up, and we'll see what it sounds like after they're up. Alright, so this is what the studio sounds like now. Honestly, I think it is a bigger improvement, but I guess we'll find out once I get this footage back into the computer and start editing it and see what it sounds like. But just from my ear, I can tell a noticeable difference. There's a lot less echo. It's still present. I can hear it mostly in the corners and where the windows are at, and maybe a little down behind the desk here. But all in all, it sounds really, really good. I think there's a little bit coming off the ceiling as well too, as I'm kind of listening to myself talk here. So I'll probably get some more foam to take care of that, and maybe some bass traps for the corners, and I think it will be all set. I will also have to probably look into getting some curtains for the windows, and that'll help absorb more sound from both outside and inside. So this studio is just further proof that a lot of things have changed and even are changing right now. At the beginning of the year, I had a long list of things I wanted to have accomplished by the end of this year, and now that it is finally December, I'm kind of looking back and seeing everything that has been fulfilled, and I'm very, very happy with all that has been accomplished. Number one thing I had on my list was becoming self-employed. When I was thinking about that in January, I literally had no idea how that was going to happen. No clear path to it. It was just something I had on that list. And as of 2 months ago, that is something that has actually happened. I'm now fully self-employed. Second thing on that list was uploading regularly, either bi-weekly or weekly, and since we got back from our summer road trip in midsummer, we basically have been accomplishing that ever since. And as well as building the studio. Those three things were the major things I wanted to accomplish this year, and because we accomplished all of them, I get to set the bar even higher next year and see where things go. But this is really exciting because everything we accomplished this year basically lays the foundation of where this channel's at and where it's going. And having the studio, having the ability to film more, enables me to produce a much broader range of content for you guys. We'll be talking about camping, we'll be talking about navigation, we'll be talking about filmmaking, how I make my projects, and it's gonna be pretty exciting. And having accomplished everything we set out to do this year, I think this video is a good way to close out the year, and I'm pretty excited with where things are going. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for a lot more that's coming your way. For those of you who are only sticking around for the outdoor adventure stuff, don't worry, that's going nowhere. There's still going to be plenty of that around. So with that, that is all I have for you guys, and I will see you next year.